Time now for a look at business with Mike Eppel from CityNews 680. Good day, Mike. You good?
I'm all good. How are you?
We got the blue memo. Nice. We're looking good.
Right?
Looking good. Not looking good. All the debt Canadians are racking up on credit cards right now. It's getting out of hand.
Well, it's also not a surprise, Sid, because everything costs a lot more and wages haven't gone up to match. Therefore, when you got to pay the bills, what do? You put it on plastic. And the latest numbers in from Equifax Canada, which tabulates these things, showed that in the first quarter of this year, non-mortgage debt, otherwise known as credit card debt, was up by 21% compared to pre-pandemic levels. And putting that into dollar terms, the average monthly credit card spend per household was around $2,200. And that's up about $400 from, again, comparable back in 2020. So it correlates to the cost of everything going up. People are using credit cards to pay the bills. The issue, though, Sid, is the interest that is charged on those credit cards, in most cases, is north of 20%. So it adds up on top of that if you don't pay the monthly balance. And there are more delinquencies showing up with something like 175,000 Canadians skipping at least one payment. So it accumulates, right? And then it gets into a snowball effect. And that's where the troubles start if we don't get the credit card debts under control.
That is a lot of money on credit cards across the country. And Mike,
listen, this was a big talking point yesterday in Ottawa with the federal Conservatives saying they're going to filibuster the upcoming debate on the budget because they want to see all sorts of spending cuts and a balanced budget proposal, all these things, because they're warning that in 2025-26, when all the mortgages come up for renewal, then we're still going to have high interest rates, and then you're going to see mortgages becoming a big problem for Canadian households. So it's not exactly the we're sort of in the early innings of this debt accumulation story.
Whenever I hear the word filibuster in politics, Mike, I get nervous.
Riveting television.
I get nervous. Delaying is never a good thing, especially when it comes to a budget.
Just talking on points of procedure.
Yes. All right, let's move on here. And another item Canadians might be throwing on their credit cards in the not too distant future is a new Apple product that was debuted yesterday. The product itself got a lot of people's attention, and so did the price tag.
Yeah, $3,500 is the starting price for the Vision Pro virtual reality or mixed reality headset. What this does is you can see the world around you through the glass, but it overlays all sorts of digital images. So it's a combination. It's not just some video screen that envelops your eyes. It's this, again, mixed reality is the next big thing, as it was dubbed by Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple. Huge event. Again, though, the price point, Apple customers have been known to pay a lot for Apple products. So, just because it's $3,500 US doesn't necessarily mean the average consumer won't buy this, but it is more for technical or professionals, I suppose. And it's not going to come out until next year. We're not sure when. So from a money-making standpoint, it's going to take some time. Apple stock yesterday, Sid, was at a record high, 184 at the peak, dropped to 179. It's still worth a lot of money. Company's worth $2.8 trillion with a T dollars as of this morning.
It looks slick, Mike. I gotta say, it looks
that's
really
what
cool.
Apple's about.
Yeah,
that's what Apple's about. It wasn't the first to smartphones. It wasn't the first to watches. It wasn't the first in many categories. But when it comes out with stuff, it's pretty cool.
Our tech expert Drew Kozub was in California for that yesterday. We'll talk to him a little later on this edition of Breakfast Television. Finally, Mike, help me out with this one. So the writers in Hollywood have been on strike for a little bit here, which means actors haven't had a lot to do. So
no, they have not.
Based on what you're telling me, the actors said, okay, considering we're not doing anything, we're going on strike too? How does this work?
Yeah, pretty much. Their contract's coming up, or is up, so they voted in favor of a strike. Hasn't the Hollywood writers' strike kind of been not ignored? I don't want to say that, but kind of forgotten about kind of rapidly. Maybe it's because we're in June and not necessarily the release point of a lot of new series. I think it's going to be much more of an issue come the fall if the writers aren't back writing, because they don't want to see AI doing it for them. And now the writers or the actors could be walking the picket lines. And that's always fun, seeing the actors holding strike.
I also think like the on-demand world we're living in, Mike, the on-demand world we're living in is affecting this.
Yes.
Honestly, like fall. I know everyone's saying, well, it's not the fall, so it's really doesn't have an effect. I have access, you have access, we have access to so much stuff right now. Yeah. I just think it's a different world. If this happened 20 years ago, I think we'd be feeling it differently.
Listen, that was, you raise an interesting point, because I know last week we were talking about the end of Succession, which I watched, by the way, and was incredibly depressed at the end. Anyway, and we all have to talk in staccato, non-secular sentences, right? Anyway, look, the talking point about Succession was that there were 3 million viewers of the final episode, right? And that was a record for HBO and all the platforms. But Sid, that's 0.8% of all of North America. 3 million viewers. Think about that. What was MASH when it was final episode?
100 million,
or something
it was like a Super Bowl. Yeah,
it's a totally different world. You raise a good point. It's fragmented. We've got all this choice, all these shows, but when the shows aren't there, then we're going, where are the shows? Where are the shows?
To be continued. Maybe the actors going on strike who weren't doing anything can move the needle. Maybe they can.
Possibly so.
Mike Eppel, always moving the needle of City News 680. Mike, have a good day, friend.
You too.
Take care.